This is Rick Gooding, broker in charge, Northstar Real Estate, working on a transaction Zipforms edition, setting up transactions for buyer agency using templates on the Northstar account. If you're not an agent with Northstar Real Estate, please verify anything that you hear in this video through your broker in charge. To get started in transactions Zipform edition, you need to go to your Zipforms account at zipformsplus.com and log in. Once you have logged in, then we will go to the new tab and set up a new transaction. This will be a new purchase or offer. You can name it whatever you want. I usually use buyer's name. In this situation, most of the time you do not have an address, so I will use buyer's name to get this transaction started. You won't have a property address in most cases. If you do, you can do this, and we'll talk about that in a further video. We'll click the type or category that is going to be used. In most cases, it will be residential. You will work off of active, and then you will choose your template. In this case, they're all global templates, and you are working with a buyer agency and offer to purchase template. You will choose that template and then click save. That template has been applied. Now your transaction folder is created. This is your summary page. If you have information about the property, you can go ahead and put it in here. Most cases at this point, you're just starting to work with a buyer, you won't have that information. What you will go to is parties next. Gray line at the top, click on parties. Since you're working with a buyer, you will enter the information for the buyers. First name, middle name, not necessarily needed. If you have it, it's great because you'll need it later. Last name. Main thing you need on this are the buyer's name and the email. For this situation, I'm going to put in my email so we can use it later on for signing. If you have other information, home phone numbers, cell phones, where they're living now, any of that stuff, you can go ahead and put it in here. I suggest always adding your client to your address book. That will put it in your contacts, so you will have them for other transactions. Or if this transaction falls through, once you set it up with the offer and the offer doesn't go through, and you have to set up another transaction file for a different property, you will already have all of their information in there. If it is an LLC, an estate, anything like that, then you will put all that information in the top, and then you will put the actual signing representative, whoever's in charge of signing in this section, and their email. Once you have that set up, you will click save. If you have 2 buyers, 3 buyers, 4 buyers, whatever, you will include those in here. I suggest at this point also going over to selling agent and broker and putting your information in. As I said, you can, if you save things to your address book, you can go to your address book, and I can find myself in here under my business email. Click on that, and all the information's in here, including my ID, my license number, Northstar's information, license number, office ID, my email, and my phone number. Click save. At this point, you don't necessarily have to have other parties involved, but if you know you're going to use one of our preferred attorneys, Costner or NIP, you can go, or any attorney you use, you can click in the buyer attorney information, and you can add them. Again, I believe I have them in my escrow company, Ashley Cameron, so I can include her. And because she was set up as the escrow instead of the closing attorney, some of the information may not bring over exactly correctly, but it'll still put her in here where you'll have her for including on the paperwork. Once you have all of that done, you can go up to documents. And because you have used the template, your documents will be in place. You'll start out with your blank buyer agency forms, and we'll go over these in another video in detail on each form, but your forms are here for you to fill out. Your blank contract forms are all here for you to fill out. Once you get your buyer agency forms signed and returned, then you will put them in the placeholders here for each item. All the ones that say required are required forms to be processed through the system. Once you have all the signatures on the buyer agency agreement, including your own, you will bring that form and you will put it in here. This is a file folder or a placeholder for that form. Same thing with your contract forms. You had your blank forms. Once you get everything ratified, there are placeholders for the offer to purchase, for the mineral oil and gas, acknowledgement of due diligence, residential property disclosure, acknowledgement of earnest money. If you have an FHA, there's the FHA addendum. Additional provisions, there's a spot for that. And then finally, with your closing documents, a copy of the closing statement or ALTA that is signed by your client is required for me to process and pay you. Also, the Northstar closing control form. That form is in your blank documents. It's right here. You can use a PDF filler, or you can fill it out and then put it back in the file. And the control form has changed a little since we made the new changes last week. As to open, I will show that to you. It is a Word doc. Actually, I did put it in as a Word doc for you, so you can fill it out without using a PDF filler. The only real changes to the buyer control form, for those of you that have used it before, is we have added the information about the lender so we can track our lender activity, who we're using. For the mortgage lender here, the type of loan, and then because with the mentoring program, the second tier program, and then the standard 90-10 program, it's going to be a little different on each one. And rentals, referrals, things like that are different for that too. So you'll just fill out your amount owed to the firm, whatever program you're on. The referral amount would go to if you have a referral from an outside company. Bottom part is not as company use only. That's just for my benefit. When I'm processing and doing approvals, I can check and make sure that you've got the things that are needed for that transaction. From that point, we'll go over the forms later in more detail. But from this point, this is where you will get started. Once you have everything completely done and all your forms are in place, everything is set You have all the placeholders filled, everything's signed, everything's initialed, ready to turn in, your control form's complete. You will go back to summary. You will click submit for review, and you will submit it to me for review by clicking needs review and then apply. That will come to me, then I can review all the forms, get everything done, make sure everything's there. Once it's processed, you'll be paid direct deposit and close this transaction out and move on to the next one. If you have any questions, definitely reach out to me. We will do another one of these based on listings, and we will also have videos on all the forms that are used and our regular forms that are needed. Thanks.